Yeah, I'm gonna probably. Good morning. Let's we can go ahead and get started. We are short one in terms of setting quorum, so we are going to pass over the approval of the minutes until we get one more person in here, and so we'll do that but right now, Madam Clerk, go ahead and call the roll. Thank you.
Senator Funky Fromeyer, Senator Mills, Senator Thomas, Representative Brown, Representative Dossett, Representative Gentry, Representative Imes, Representative Johnson, Representative Palumbo, Representative Raymond, Representative Tate, Representative Bratcher,
Here.
Representative Bridges, Co-Chair Nemus,
Present.
Co-Chair Freeland, Chair Fleming.
Present. Thank you very much. Yep, sorry, my phone. Thank you, Co-Chair. Go ahead. My mic was not on, so I apologize. So go ahead and introduce yourself to the committee, and you have the floor after that. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's what I had to do too. Could you see? Make sure your mic is on. I can't hear you. Is it green?
Now it is.
There you go. Now I can hear you. Thank you.
Let me put everybody on. See?
Green.
It looked green.
I wish I had a remote control. I got popping.
Say, hey, buddy.
Or not.
So anyway, the map in front of you is the map that we've used for years since the project began. Generally represents the network and where it's at. As you can see, it's in all 120 counties. The red lines that you see, that's the backbone, and that shows the 6 rings that we did construction in. That's the numbers 1A, 1B, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The blue lines are the laterals where it extends into each county. And the shaded areas is the geographic areas that our local partners who constructed and then maintain the network, the areas that they operate in. You can go to the next slide. So the thing to remember about us is we provide service to state government agencies, executive branch agencies, the KCTCS system, and the public universities eventually. We haven't connected them yet, but we will. We're the first nation to build a network, first state in the nation to build a network like this. Construction is, we're literally on the 1-inch line. There's a small gap in far western Kentucky and Lyon County that they're finishing up right now. We think all the fiber is done. And so we got a couple of weeks to do the splicing and testing of the fiber in that area. Right now we have 427 sites online that we've connected. 388 of those are executive branch agencies. 39 of them are KCTCS campuses. We've also reached an agreement with the Administrative Office of the Courts to add them to the network. That's another 118 sites that we'll begin migrating soon. And when everything is done, we'll have 764 sites connected to the network. Most of the ones that we've connected, all the ones we've connected have been in rings 1A, 1B, 2, 3, and 5. Ring 4, since construction is finally finishing up, we'll then begin to move those in that area. You can go to the next slide. So I know one of the questions that you all have is about our budget and our availability payments. I'm going to ask Steve Murphy, our CFO, if he can go through that AP process.
Thanks, Doug. Everybody hear me okay? I'm not talking about my accent, I'm talking about my voice. Two different things. Let me walk through availability payments, what they are, and try to explain why currently we're facing a challenge with regard to estimating them. They're our primary budget driver, as has been the case since the project began. The project and the deal are very document-driven. By that, I mean the deal construct tells us what we need to do and what we have to do. For a portion of availability payments, or APs, the Commonwealth bears the inflation risk. Now, we can debate the wisdom of that all day long, but the fact is that that's what the documents say, and that was what was agreed to when the deal was put together. Excuse me. For the 8 years we've paid availability payments, this hasn't been a problem. Inflation was benign, and they easily managed within a nominal increase every year. That's currently not the case, as everyone knows. Inflation's raised its head. For a while was accelerating, which increases our challenge, but it seems like it's abating a bit, which is a good thing. There's two primary components to the AP. There's the capital component, which is fixed at a 2.5% growth rate. Now, what that means is the bondholders and other creditors have taken the inflation risk on that piece. It pays debt service for Series A, B, subordinate debt, equity return, and that's a little more than 2/3 of our total AP, which is a good thing. The remainder is escalated with inflation. There's two components to the inflation escalation. One is labor and one is materials. And in addition to the rate risk that the inflation rate of labor and materials poses, the deal construct presents timing and data challenges that impact the AP budget and the AP budget estimation. We're reliant on federal BLS data, that's Bureau of Labor Statistics. And the deal documents require us to use the March that precedes the upcoming fiscal year to set the rate. It's a blended rate. I can explain that if you're interested, but one piece is labor, one piece is material. I think it's right about 60-40 right now. The big challenge is that data is generally not available till July. Now, thinking about the Commonwealth's fiscal year, that's a mismatch. As I said, when inflation was benign, it was easy to estimate. Inflation was not accelerating, a nominal increase would take care of it. It's a challenge now. If you think about what we're required to do utilizing the March 23 data for the fiscal 25 and 26 budget, you're asking, guess, look, 24 to 27 months, fiscal 26. We're currently working on the data for the estimate for 25 and 26, and we should have something soon that we're all comfortable with. As I mentioned, the good news is inflation is abating, so we're not dealing with accelerating inflation, which would make the estimating even more challenging. As I said, the capital component is fixed. That mitigates the impact. And then the labor rate of inflation has historically always been below the material rate. For instance, recent numbers are about 50%. Labor is 50% lower than materials, and since we take a blend, that softens the impact a little bit also. We're working through the data now. My best estimate right now, where we'll come out, because again, it's only a third, and part is materials, part is labor, that low single digits will be the impact of inflation, which is better than it could have been, but it's still something that we need to deal with. So, Mitch, pick it up.
Thanks. Also wanted to share with the committee, in addition to our biennium budget that we're working through, we have submitted 2 capital budget plans. We presented those to the Capital Advisory Board in May. But we have a system refresh or an infrastructure upgrade that we have placed $12.9 million in capital funding request in for the next biennium. That is a 10-year marker in the project agreement. So it's a 30-year agreement signed in 2015. So in 2025, at the 10-year mark, we have a process where we need to assess the equipment in the network, any equipment that's going out of service or past its maintenance date. We will look at replacing or refurbing. We are currently doing that exercise now to identify all that equipment and what expires on which dates.
Would you mind pulling the microphone closer to you? Thank you.
We're currently going through the exercise of looking at all the equipment and the exact dates that equipment will need to be replaced. So we'll refine these numbers as we have the exact equipment that needs to be replaced in 26. But right now we're estimating $12.9 million in equipment in the next biennium. And then the other one is an infrastructure purchase for the telecommunication shelters. We've got $12.4 million in a capital plan that we presented to purchase the telecommunication shelters that house the core node equipment around the Commonwealth. There are 20 of those shelters that have our core optical switching and core routing equipment housed in. So we have submitted both of those. We presented them to the Capital Advisory Board in May, and we're following that process through to determine the funding levels.
So that concludes our quick presentation we were going to give to you all. If there are any questions from the members.
Go ahead, Senator.
Yes, sir. That's correct. Yes, sir.
I need to follow the rules as well. My first question is this. Looking at Kentucky as a whole, how much of the state, how many residents are covered by broadband today? I mean, how many current residents of Kentucky have access to broadband, have access to the internet?
So that's not a question that we have an answer for, since we provide just to state agencies. But we can work with the Office of Broadband Development. They may be, but I'll be glad to talk to them, and we can provide that information to you.
I think that's critically important, Mr. Hendricks. This is my second comment. We don't talk, in this body, we don't talk about this a lot, but we probably should talk about this more, because if Kentucky is truly going to be a competitive state and a great state in this century, we've got to get everybody to have broadband access as soon as possible. I've been a proponent of this project ever since the first Governor Beshear proposed this, back in 2014. I've been totally behind this and been an advocate for this from the very beginning. And we have got to get this done as a state. I mean, this is as important as anything else we do in this state. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Absolutely. Okay. It's broadband it's just like a utility now. People want, they need water, electric, sewer, broadband. That's what people want. It's what businesses want.
For our commercial development, it's as critical as anything else we need.
Yes, sir.
To be a commercial success in this world.
Yes, sir. I agree 100%.
Also speed and reliability.
Yeah. And speed, as Steve has mentioned, speed and reliability. That's the other.
Access is one thing, speed and reliability is a whole nother story.
So I'm glad we're leading off with this today, because we don't talk about this a lot in the legislature, but it is as important as anything we do. It's certainly in the top 3 of anything we do in this state.
Yes, sir. 2020 really demonstrated that, right? How many kids were trying to get access to Wi-Fi so that they could do their homework.
You're welcome, Senator. Quick question. If I recall, schools were supposed to be included in this, and then could you give me a quick update on how that's unraveling?
Schools are not a part of our network.
Okay.
They
were
were
originally,
withdrawn.
though?
Originally, they had talked about adding them, but we dropped those out back in 2015. That was 175 sites. That's, if you look back historically, you'll see that our number of sites it moves. And truthfully, it's always going to do that. It's an organic network is the way I like to describe it. Sites come on, sites move, state agencies move from one part of the street to another part of the street. We add agencies and then offices get shut down. So you'll see that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Senator Mills, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question for you. I am just like the Senator said, I'm a proponent of Wi-Fi access and getting everybody online throughout our state. But the issue I have with the organization is that, you just stated it serves only public agencies. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you really don't have any revenue-generating organization. Is that correct?
Well, KCNA itself is not, but one of the things to remember about this network was when it was designed, it's designed at approximately state agencies, universities, and community colleges over the 30-year life of the project. That excess capacity, we have a vendor, Open Fiber Kentucky, who is supposed to be going out, expanding broadband, and we get a revenue share from their actions.
Can two questions. Can you give us an update on that part of the project as far as I may have missed it, but if you can update us on that. And then how do you, if you were in our position, how do you justify the hundreds of millions of dollars that we spent, the Commonwealth spent, to connect public agencies in a project like this where the public agencies could probably be covered by a commercial how would we answer that to our constituent?
So I'll question first. Then when I get done with that one, remind me of your second question.
Okay.
In case I forget it. So the first question, there was a revenue share we were supposed to get from Open Fiber. It depended upon the type of service that they provided. If it was a dark fiber lease, it was 90%. If it's lit fiber services, 75%. The only date we have that we will begin to receive that revenue share is 2032. That's a date that Open Fiber told the Legislative Research Commission's Oversight Committee in their broadband report in summer 2022. So 2032 is the only date they've given. I've asked for an update to that. They have said they're not obligated to. Frankly, the speeds and where we're at. We an interstate highway, and I think that's how you would have heard Representative Hal Rogers describe it. I think he called it the highway at one point. But so we have a network that's down into all those areas, all 120 counties, from the smallest counties like Robertson County to the largest counties. So I think rather than seeing this as a waste of money, we built an asset that the state owns, that we can give access to the public through our vendor, and that they can get the benefit of it. And at the same time, we've shifted the money that we were paying those private carriers, and we're providing 5 times the speed that they were receiving under those previous contracts. So we've gotten faster speed for customers, for our customers being state agencies. We have better access, hopefully, for the people statewide. And that's really what this is about, right? How do we benefit the citizens? By improving economies, bringing jobs, better health care, all those kinds of things add up. So I don't think it's a waste of money. I think it's an investment, and hopefully an investment in our future that will pan out. Yeah. Just a quick story. One of the first agencies we added was the Department for Community-Based Services office in Owen County, just up 127. Somebody went and interviewed them and said, how's it working for you? And what that person told us was, in the afternoons, they would just get the blue circle of death. We all get that when you're sitting on your computer and it just sits there and spins, right? And you're like, oh no, I got to call COT now. But anyway, they said they essentially cut into their ability to do their work. When we connected them to our network, they were able to be more efficient, more effective, and provide faster services for our citizens, and that's what's important.
Just, Mr. Chairman, just a couple more statements. I would just say that, 9 years from now, you're saying when your first guarantee is for your vendor, I would say that's way too long to be waiting around for the vendor to start generating cash for the Commonwealth. And I can appreciate better service for state government and the bureaucracy, but the amount of money that we have put into this program is just unbelievable, and it's too much for me. I believe we probably could have been served by a commercial vendor in much better fashion, but I know y'all are working on it. It sounds like you're trying hard, but I believe we need to continue to press forward on this. The availability payments and the things that are stressing our budget are just incredibly hard to understand at this point. So,
And Senator, I appreciate, understand, and agree with your frustration on that revenue share issue. That's what we were told we were going to get, right? A long time before now. And that's why we're pushing the ball on that every day.
Senator, one additional answer to one of your questions. You said that agencies could get better pricing today in the marketplace. That's absolutely true. But that was not true back in 2013 and 14. When this, I was not here yet. When this deal was envisioned, we had reams of data that showed that within the Commonwealth, the price gouging that was going on because of limited competition, severely limited competition, was more than 2 times surrounding states with pricing at. Competition's increased. Now, I don't want to be too self-serving, but I think we've had a role in that because the availability of high-speed broadband has increased significantly because of the project. So it's just important to keep in mind what was going on in 2014. A long time ago,
yeah,
10
it
years.
is.
Right?
And I would say that it's just dangerous to get in a long-term contract in technology. It's going to change that equipment decision at the time to get into such a long contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We have 4 in the queue. The next is Representative Bratcher.
Okay, I just have a few questions to catch up. KCNA, who authorized you? Was that at the very beginning in 13?
That was the very beginning in 2015. Governor Bevin reissued the executive order, and in 2017, the General Assembly passed our statutes that established the agency and its board.
So your agency is to oversee this big project?
Yes, sir.
Now, there are private entities, and there's a project PPP going
Yes, sir.
on? Who is that?
It's a public-private project was what it was called, a P3.
But who is the private partner?
The vendor that they awarded to is Macquarie Development. And had a subcontract they entered into with another company that actually did the boots on the ground work.
So when these millions of dollars each budget are sent for this project, does it filter through you guys?
How's the best way to say it, Steve? Yeah.
Yes, dollars don't leave the Commonwealth. Kentucky White Operations Company. Expenses, debt service, and equity return. Series A, B, subordinate debt, and equity return. If I had to estimate 55% of the budget. And then there's the maintenance of the organization, which is another 25%. Outside of us, we have to approve every month what comes from.
said it's state-owned. This operation is state-owned. The state owns it,
Yes, sir.
and you guys operate it.
We are,
For
yes,
example, if you said you want the universities to have access to this, do the universities want this?
Oh, yes, they were an early partner.
Because has got some serious good 5G, so you guys would take over what they have now, say?
University of Louisville would become a part of our network, yes, sir.
And when does university will pay for this service?
Yes.
And those dollars will go where?
They'll flow into it's reserved funds, I believe is how it's called. Restricted funds that flows into us well, essentially what we do is the money that agencies were paying for their internet before is just repurposed and sent to us. So it's unplugged revenue. That's one way to think about it. You unplug it from paying the private entity and you plug it into paying. Yes, the universities there'll be a charge.
And just two more. So you mentioned Owen County. Let's say that you didn't want to serve Owen County for just some weird reason. Would you guys be making the decision not to serve or to serve Owen County?
I think technically that'd probably be a COT decision. That's who Commonwealth Office of Technology. That's who we work with to connect executive branches.
So how many groups are operating this thing? So you don't make the decisions of where this goes. Commonwealth of Technology does.
The original plan had approximately 1,000 sites that were going to be connected, and COT, Finance Administration Cabinet, was part of that decision. So if COT calls us and says, we want you to add this maintenance garage in Marion County, we add it. So we work with them to decide who's going to be on and who's not going to be on.
Okay. Well, I consider this voted for this operation and initiated it. And I consider it one of the worst decisions Kentucky has ever made because it has been, every time I talk about it, I go on a slow burn because there were so many loose ends, and I don't think we're getting the bang for our buck. Maybe in the future we will. You say in 2032 the whole state will be served, right?
No, in 2032, that's when we are supposed to begin receiving revenue from open fiber, which is monetizing that excess capacity by connecting other entities to the network.
Will there be a day where your all's job's not needed?
This project goes.
Some people would say now.
This project will end in 2045.
2045.
Yep, it's a 30-year contract.
Thank you.
Representative Johnson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, in your presentation, you talked about the inflation, which is very real. And maybe I missed it, and if I did, I apologize, but was there a funding request in there somewhere? Did I hear a number I missed, or is that going to be COT that's going to come to us and say they want more money, or y'all good, or where's the status there?
A final number that we'll request in the budget, we're working on that now. But there will be, every year we've had to request money, so there will be a general fund request.
You don't want to give us a preview today, do you?
Don't know. Yeah, be a little early.
But we should anticipate an ask at some point. Is that correct?
Yeah, it should be in line along the lines of what we've had before, with an increase based on the inflation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And please show me a little grace. I'm new to and the versus the original cost. And could y'all put together some numbers if everything had worked as it was supposed to, where we'd be today, and then the actuary numbers of where we are today. Sure. And then I think what I heard you say, the inflationary cost is only based on about a third of it, because the other 2/3 are already figured in by the subcontractors on their liability.
Well, that's correct. The capital portion is fixed.
Right.
And that's a risk that the investors and bondholders took. Now, as it turns out, they took the wrong side, right? A 2.5% increase annually back in 2013 looked pretty good. Inflation was 1%, 1.1%. So they were growing at 2.5% a year, which means debt service grows by that much and payments to equity, et cetera. Now, That doesn't look like such a good decision, correct? But that is a blessing to us because that's 2/3 of the AP, give or take. The other third, what was negotiated back in 13, 14, does move with inflation. So their annual change up until now has been less than 2.5%. So relative to what the investors got, you would look as another vendor, you didn't do as well. That's changed. It changed this year, and it will change for 24, 25, 26. The question is the magnitude and the direction of inflation. It's also fortunate that we have the labor piece in there because an unfortunate fact in the United States is that labor payments grow slower than materials do. And it's a big difference. It's 50% plus.
I understand that. You've already, I don't want you to have to be repetitive, but the numbers I'm asking for is I'm curious to see what that 1/3 inflation rate is in comparison to original cost, current cost, and where we are to see if that's panning out in the proper manner what we expecting. And then another question is there's replacement cost, buildings, whatever, maintenance and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Was that figured in, calculated in the original thing? And it's not to be accusatory towards you gentlemen, but basically so that we can learn as a General Assembly so we don't reproduce this in future contracts so we can protect ourselves and see the most sustainable way to address when we negotiate these contracts, especially the long-term ones that you don't have the crystal ball. So if you could get us some numbers like that, if you don't mind, if that's possible, so that we can get a grasp of the overall cost, the overall additional cost and where we're at. So, and for me personally, this is more as a learning experience so that we don't enter into another contractual agreement such as what we've got now that just goes beyond anything we could have ever asked or imagined as far as overruns and things.
We'll work on gathering that information. Okay. And to kind of briefly answer one of your questions or one of your comments, the refresh or the refurbishment of equipment, that was always at the Commonwealth's risk. That was not built into the project. It could have been. It would have just increased the cost. The amount that we presented to Capital Advisory Board, that's the amount that we worked on with our partners, McCreary. They set a price on it. It's a placeholder. We expect it'll come in below that number. We hope. Just keep our fingers crossed. That would be a cost that was not included in the project. Frankly, the hope and the plan, or I should say the plan and the hope, was that the revenue share would pay some of these costs. So that's why we pressed so hard on that issue. Vendor. To your second question about the huts, that was not a part of it. They just started failing. You know, the floors were right.
Okay, and just a comment, Mr. Chair. You are helping us just in your comments here that some of that was not in that original cost. So we commit to something of that nature, so we can learn, so we can do it better and be better stewards of the Commonwealth's tax dollars. So
yes,
thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, Representative. Representative Tate, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm a member of the Capital Planning Advisory Committee, as you're
Yes, ma'am.
aware. So this was a long topic of conversation in that committee. Can you also describe for this committee the discussion that we had for those members who were not on that committee or have the footage? Can you describe the millions of dollars worth of equipment?
Because I want to make sure I get your question right. What you want us to do is explain that we purchased equipment in 2015, and that because of the construction delays, we were unable to use that equipment. So yeah, it's set fallow.
You asked for from the advisory committee because of equipment that cannot or will not be used.
and purchase it with 2015. We did use that equipment, but because of the project delays and getting the network turned up, in 2020 for most of the nodes, the equipment was 5 years old when we were installing it, and with usually an approximate 10-year life on this equipment. It's pretty standard in the industry. About every 10 years, this equipment will need to be refreshed or upgraded. So I think what we discussed work up, it was already in the second half of its potential life.
So going back again to their point of when will this project or when will this ever end, the answer is really IT equipment constantly goes out of expiration, becomes expired. And so
Yeah, so, and in the project agreement, that we implemented in 2015 that goes through 2045, they're every 10 years. So at 2025 and 2035, that was contemplated that there would need to be an inventory of all the equipment and, equipment refreshed as needed. To Doug's comments earlier, the funding for that was, left as a Commonwealth obligation. It wasn't funded within the base contract price, but it was in the contract that a 10-year life on this type of equipment is pretty industry standard. You're going to need to make some upgrades or changes to the equipment.
Sure. Representative, I'm sorry, we're having technical issues with our speakers, so if you don't mind, just up the volume a little bit. You're doing fine. I know you have it on, but just up the volume so we can hear it better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. In regards to Representative Johnson's question, so he asked if there was a budgetary ask that had been made. Can you describe what the budgetary ask that was mentioned in the Capital Planning Advisory Committee for that biannual budget?
Yeah, so the entire capital plan for the equipment refresh, the total is $44 million over the 6 years. So it's spread over the next 3 biennia. For biennium, it was 16.7, I'm going by memory, and then the last biennium was 13, some change. But the total cost we requested was $44 million, and that is what was listed in the project agreement as the estimate at the 10-year refresh. And to Doug's comments earlier, we're currently going through that, identifying specifically what needs to be replaced, what does not need to be, and we do not have that final number today. But the $44 million is directly out of the project agreement as the estimate for the 10-year refresh.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. If anybody has any questions, just reach out to me. We'll be glad to answer them for you, and we'll work on your question. If we have any questions, I'll reach out to you directly.
Thank you. Next on, and her crew, if you don't mind coming up. When you do come up, just introduce yourself for the record, and you have the floor. We do have a floor. Okay. We do? No, Robbie left. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. We are pleased to be here today. My name is Mary Elizabeth Bailey. I am the Secretary of the Personnel Cabinet.
Good morning. My name is Jamie Caldwell. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Human Resources Administration.
And I'm Sharon Burton. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Employee Insurance at the Personnel Cabinet.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you want me to sit over there? Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. Get set up here.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. And we'll just start with the org chart. Okay, great. Okay, it's on. All right. The Personnel Cabinet is the centralized human resource agency for the executive branch. We are charged with administration of primarily KRS Chapter 18A, which is the merit system. In addition to that, we also provide programs and services to executive branch agencies, along with policy, procedures, guidance in all areas of human resources. In addition to that, I think a lot of the public or the perception is that we only handle, much more than just the executive branch. We, serve all of your employees. LRC, we take care of LRC and the judicial branch. We also take care of several county offices, county clerks, and sheriffs. In addition to that, our health plan has over 250 members in the health plan. And also in our workers' compensation plan as well, we have over 60,000 members in that as well, citizens. With that said, we are going to provide an overview today of the Personnel Cabinet and each of our organizational units. We have 9 organizational units in the Personnel Cabinet. I have today our 2 commissioners of our largest departments, and you'll see on the slides that there is a lot of information that's going to be provided, but I wanted to make sure to take back that information and absorb that, and go ahead and start. Okay.
So the Department of Employee Insurance at the Personnel Cabinet, we administer insurance benefits for approximately 295,000 members across the state of Kentucky in every county. That make up that membership are your boards of education, your teachers, judicial, legislative, executive branch employees, as well as the early retirees, the CDHP plan. The remainder of individuals who choose to waive coverage, we also administer the waiver general purpose HRA and the waiver dental vision HRA for members who waive coverage. We also administer dental, vision, life, healthcare, FSA, flexible spending accounts, and dependent care flexible spending accounts for our members. So switching to claims a little bit, the Kentucky Employee Health Plan paid 8.2 million claims in 2022, which translates to $1.8 billion going to doctors, hospitals, pharmacies, and claim payments across the state. To say it another way, that's $4.9 million a day that KEHP pays out in claims to providers. If you translate that on a per employee basis, we're paying out $6,278 per member in claims. Those numbers translate into, we pay out 95% of the premiums we receive, either from employers or from employees, in claims payment. The remainder 5% goes to administration of the plan, either payments to our vendors or to pay the salaries of our Department of employee insurance employees. When you think about premiums, the employer portion of the premiums that are paid on a per employee basis are well below the national benchmark. We're constantly looking for programs that benefit our members, they address their healthcare needs, and they don't cost our members anything additional. And we have myriad programs that we put in place, like Live Health Online Medical, Live Health Online Behavioral, where our members can get telehealth for those services. Rethink Care is a program our members can use if they have children who have disabilities or behavioral challenges. Substance abuse hotlines. So most recently, we've implemented Castlight. You may be familiar with that. It's an app, or you can access it through your computer, where you can access all your benefits in one place, as opposed to going to Health Equity to see your HRA amounts and Anthem to see your claim amounts. You can access it all in one place. We have 6,000 members in 1 year that engaged in that program, which is pretty phenomenal because it's very hard often to get engagement in programs. At most all of our programs, we want to see what's the money we're investing in our programs and what are we getting back. And if we're not getting a return on investment, we have to consider eliminating those programs. And I'll make one more point and then I'll pass it along. But each year we are aggressively negotiating contracts with our vendors and ensuring that we have proper performance guarantees in place, and we oversee those. We have regular meetings with our vendors to see how things are going. $1 million was returned back to the health plan in performance guarantees that were not met. So that's just to give you a taste of how we're overseeing our vendors.
Can I ask a quick question? Is the health plan in a profitable situation, or are you going to be upside down in this fiscal year?
We are looking at projections. One thing, we don't have our June projections in yet. We had been going along pretty well. We expected the COVID rebound to occur in 2022. It looks like that rebound is occurring in 2020. Look like claims expenditures are 2023.
All right. Right.
Thank you.
Okay, to talk to you a little bit about the Department of Human Resources Administration, with the exception of benefits that Commissioner Burton just gave you an overview of, this department actually provides core human resources for state employees. The department is comprised of two divisions. We have a division of career opportunities and a division of employee management. The division of career opportunities administers our recruitment and outreach programs. That we are extending our to make sure we're extending outlets that you see on your slide. And we also do a lot of in-person recruitment events. Those include things like career fairs with colleges and universities across the state, both private and public. We also promote internship and co-op opportunities. We want to make sure that we reach both post-secondary institutions, educational institutions, as well as high school students. We want to make sure they're aware early of what state government has to offer. We've developed and continue to build on our community partnerships with organizations like Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, the Kentucky Career Corps, and the Job Corps. We are out in the community speaking to every group that we can connect with, everything from our Kiwanis groups to Goodwill Industries. So we have we've built a lot of great connections, and we continue to do so daily. The department has a diversity outreach and recruitment program in which we meet with organizations to discuss and promote employment with the Commonwealth. We also have an active presence on our two military installations.
Yes.
All the services we offer and provide assistance when applying to jobs if they need it. We have provided assistance to almost 7,000 veterans, which we're really proud of. We manage the hiring process with our talent management program, which we call My Purpose. Today, we take phone calls, and we have interaction with anyone who is interested in employment with the Commonwealth. And last year, we were able to assist more than 8,700. Very helpful. And within the last year, we have had more than 25,000 new applicants. Selected for employment with state government. We have government. That could be anything from their initial appointment to a promotion, transfers to other agencies or within their same agencies, disciplinary actions, and retirement. And within the last year, we have reviewed and effectuated 114,400 personnel actions. And we do this not just for executive branch, but for also AOC and LRC as well. The department also administers the classification and compensation plan for the executive branch. Job classifications that represent the wide range of jobs that the Commonwealth performs, whether that is a chemist or a social worker or maybe a chef at one of our parks. Our goal is to make sure that we have a job classification that represents the job duties that they need performed, and also minimum requirements that represent the candidates that they need to have, the qualified candidates that they need to have to perform those tasks. Let's see. As I'm sure you're aware, we're currently working in conjunction with our classification consulting firm, Korn Ferry, to finalize a very large job review project. That project will include the detailed review and analysis of over 1,200 job classifications. And as a part of this comprehensive review, we work with all agencies that employ a specific job classification. We solicit their feedback, require that they provide us feedback on what things are working on that job, what things that maybe they struggle with. We take that and we do a very detailed analysis of every aspect of the job. We check the job title. Does the title still reflect what the industry calls a certain task? We make sure that the minimum requirements reflect current child, state, and federal labor laws. Would that job be operating a piece of equipment that requires a specific age requirement? We look at licensures and certifications to make sure that those reflect industry standards. And we want to produce the very best product at the end for agencies to be able to employ the people that they need to do the jobs and meet the needs, excuse me, of the citizens. At the same time that we're working on this very large project, staff are also working with agencies across the state to analyze their job vacancies. We constantly analyze the data. Our job postings may be having 0 or very few applicants. And when that happens, we look at the job and try to identify what may cause that. Is it because the minimum requirements are too stringent, or we need to make other adjustments that will really attract when someone goes out and searches for a job, that they will find that job that they qualify for. Sometimes we have to be very responsive to an agency's immediate need. We may receive a request this week or next for an agency that has a new programmatic. So we have to work quickly with all of those aspects that meets their needs. Or maybe it's one of those where we need to make revisions to the certification. Operate, of course, effectuate payroll for all 3 branches of government, and within the last year, that totaled over $1.7 billion. With payroll, we of course ensure that employee pay is issued and recorded in compliance with state and federal laws, including tax laws, which is very important as we have employees in all 120 counties across the state. And we also, of course, work to prepare and ensure issuance of all tax documents, W-2s, for anyone that was employed the prior year. And then lastly, I wanted to just make you aware that we have an excellent performance management program, which is important for employees' advancement and professional growth.
Thank you very much. Okay. Our next organizational structure within the cabinet is our Kentucky Deferred Compensation Authority. This program is the supplemental retirement system for employees of the Commonwealth. Our public educators and local entities also participate in this program. It is self-funded through participant fees, and it receives no general fund. The authority manages over $3.6 billion in assets. We right now currently have, as you see, 82,000 participants in the program, which is fantastic. In July of 2019, legislation was passed that required auto enrollment of all new hires, and this has been received very well. What is really good about this is that even though they are automatically enrolled upon hire, they can choose at any time during their career after that to unenroll. But at this point, we have enrolled 13,000 new hires, and we have retained 94% of those in the program. So that's fantastic. In the last couple of years, we have also began to provide a no-fee financial planning service to plan participants. That is a new initiative that we have rolled out. We also provide consultation and financial webinars, often to employees. I know this year we are one of our required trainings for all employees. Typically, it's our annual trainings are compliance-based for employees, but this year we added a course on financial and mental health wellness. I think those are two very important components to an individual, and so we rolled out training on that this year. They also provide in-person and will all three branches of government. One of our biggest assets individuals that we cover are our volunteer firefighters and emergency firefighters across the state. This program is definitely vast. In addition to that, this office is also charged with employee recognition programs. We oversee and administer the employee suggestion system and our nationally recognized adoption benefit program, and also the Kentucky Employees Charitable Campaign. We also offer and have an ombudsman on staff that is available to work with employees through our mediation program to resolve any type of employee manager maybe conflict or issue that has occurred on the workplace. When they come to work. And so we do offer the Kentucky Employees Assistance Program. It's referral based and to assist employees with any type of personal issue that they might have. I know of mental health throughout our program in state government. Our next, yes. Okay. I'll go really quickly. Okay. Yes.
Mine.
Yes.
Because I've got a couple.
Yes. Absolutely. Our Office of Diversity, Equality, and ADA consultation to agencies. In addition to that, we put on or host annually the Governor's Leadership, Equality, Accessibility, and Diversity Conference. We typically have around all state agencies, the private sector as well, anyone that would like to attend that. And then we also have the Governor's Minority Management Training Program. This is a one-year program that we recruit and provide professional development for those employees that are minorities that are interested in one day becoming a manager. And then last but not least, our last organizational structure is the Office of the Secretary, and it's comprised, of course, with administrative services, the core office within the cabinet although we are providing human resources services to all agencies for state employees, we also have our internal HR office that takes care of our employees and provide. Does. Then our Office of ensuring compliance of KRS Chapter 18A. We have our Office of Public Affairs, and they are instrumental in ensuring that all of our marketing and our media services that we are out there in the communities, and that we are, ensuring that when you come, we recently updated our public-facing website, so it is fresh and more attractive and appealing and easy to navigate. They are responsible for that. All are charged with. They are the training arm for the executive branch services, along with any type of specific
narrative and so forth, and I know you just got the instructions and you're going to be going through that process and so forth. Do you have any rough count, or basically a number of personnel by department at this point, other than what's in the narrative for this current fiscal year?
Not at the moment, but we are working on that.
Okay, when do you think you might have that?
I will have to talk with my budget director on that.
Okay, do you know, just curiosity, how many personnel do you have in the DEI section, and then what the expenditures are? Yeah, no, I'm sorry, the diversity equity office.
How many employees that we currently have?
Yes.
We have 3 employees, and we are currently hiring one more, so it will be 4 shortly.
Okay. Which has expenditures?
I can provide that to you.
Okay, I appreciate it. As far as, do you have like a 5-year trend on number of employees that the state has employed over the past, like I said, past 5 years?
We do, and we can provide you those exact counts. We are around 27,000 right now, and over the last 5 years, we have stayed 26,700 to 28,000. So I can provide you those exact counts, though, sure. We were staying pretty consistent over the last 5 years. We have had a little increase. We've increased around 1,000 over the last year, but we're pretty consistent over the last.
Authorized, and you have actually filled.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have what the authorized amount of personnel per department, and then how many are filled? And I'm using my own terminology in terms of authorized.
Okay. Are you talking about the executive branch or the personnel cabinet specifically?
I'm talking about system-wide.
System-wide, I can provide that to you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Is the personnel across the board reflective of Kentucky?
Yes, it is. There is obviously opportunities for growth in some counties, in to be more diverse across the state. But we do have data that we could provide to you if you'd like.
Okay, I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. I'll hold off for a second and follow up some other questions. But Senator Thomas had a question, I believe.
First of all, Secretary Bailey, it's good to see you again.
You as well. Thank you,
Yeah,
Senator.
I haven't had as much contact with you recently as I've had the other cabinet
Yes,
secretaries,
yes.
but I want you to know I really admire the work that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
During this year, and let me preface by saying I recognize that every government employee is important. Every position is important.
Yes.
But during this year, the two important positions that the legislature has really focused on has been the area of juvenile correction workers and school resource officers. They've received more attention than other state government employees, and particularly with regard to salaries. Okay. This year, we've increased juvenile corrections officers to $50,000 a year.
Correct.
And school resource officers get about $38,000. Is that is still insufficient in certain markets. For instance, in rural northern Kentucky, we are still seeing shortages in juvenile correction officers because of that pay. My reason for coming here today was to ask you this question. Is there a way, is it possible that we can have differential salaries in certain markets? Because that makes inherent system if we look at how, people are, what might be a good salary in Chicago, may not be sufficient in San Francisco or New York City.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, we understand that. So is it possible that here in Kentucky, under our governmental payroll structure, that we can have differential pay in certain markets? That's what I really want to know from you.
Yes.
So we can address this concern with juvenile correction officers and with our school resource officers.
And our Yes, we're currently doing that with several job classifications at the moment. Yes.
Thank you, Secretary
Yes,
Bailey, and it's
you're
good to see
welcome.
you again.
You as well. Thank you, sir.
Good question. Representative Bratcher, do you have a question?
I have a few short ones.
Short ones, please.
Quickly, did you, I don't know, you may have mentioned it, I don't know. Do you have tuition reimbursement? Does the state have that?
We do. We do have that program. Yes.
Yeah, no worries.
I said it's not widely used right now, but we do have agencies that are using it. And I can see that. Yes.
Working at home, do you keep track of, I don't know if this is your job or not, but do you keep track of employees that are working from home?
As far as the number of the demographics of, yes, we do. Yes, it is our job. And we do that, yes. So
Is there a percentage you could throw out there? Or?
Sure, absolutely. We have, as far as right now in the workforce, our last numbers from that are full-time work from home, and that can range from anything. We have right now we've got some building construction that is going on, so employees cannot be in the office at the moment. We obviously have some ADA, FMLA issues, and so we have some employees at home because of that. And then we just have a few classifications in some agencies that are purely a work from home situation. And so, but it's very few employees. We have around majority of we have, I think, around 33% that's hybrid, meaning our policy is 3 days in the office. based upon the workload, and the because they're either correctional officers or park workers or some nature like that. But yes, we do keep those stats. Yes, sir.
So let's say tourism, or let's say labor cabinet, they set their own policy of working at home, or do you guys involved with it? Or
We set the executive branch policy. So the policy right now is that everyone, unless you're public facing, meaning, like I said, correctional officer,
Sure,
park
yeah,
worker, something like
yeah.
that, then and your job is one that is suitable, that can be a work from home hybrid situation, then we do allow 2 days that the agency can choose to work from home. One of the days in the office must be a core day where everyone is in at the same time. So that way, we can.
Do you find it popular?
Popular? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, across the nation.
Sure,
it's
right.
right now. I mean, and that's one thing that we're seeing a lot in our, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Just one more short one.
All right, please.
So the classification
Yeah.
situation,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's you guys or whatever, but there just seemed to be some resistance to do that on a timely basis. Maybe it's just harder than, you got a consultant, so it's not easy, right?
Well, you have to understand, and like Commissioner Caldwell said, we have 12 in all agencies in the executive branch, and it's not just a one size fits all. We have to, and we have limited. And so it is very lengthy, very extensive. It is time consuming. And so it has taken some time, but that's typical. It usually takes 3 to 5
Yep.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We have 2 more in the queue. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the presentation. I suspect most people not inside the personnel cabinet understands the breadth of what
Right.
you do.
Thank
So
you. I appreciate that.
This is very informative.
Good.
In keeping with the fact that this is the budget review subcommittee,
Yes, sir.
my question goes in a different direction. Does the cabinet have a program to review positions and I don't know a better way to put it, but identify obsolete positions or positions that have been overcome by technology or for whatever reason?
Absolutely.
And then you can identify where we can maybe save some funding, and I hate, it's an uncomfortable topic, but maybe reduce positions that are no longer effective. Is there a program, ongoing process for that? And if so, can you tell me any results out of it? Have we actually seen some cost savings where we could maybe eliminate positions?
That is an ongoing task that we perform constantly, and agencies are required to when before they fill a position, they're required to review it. Do they have the budget for it? Or do they still have the duties? Are the tasks still there? Can they be assumed by another position, or is technology something that is going to assume that? Is it still needed? Is the position ongoing review at all times of that?
Are there any results, any statistics, some data you can provide to me that shows that it's effective?
Other than, that are still needed to be filled. We look more at the analysis of the need and is the job duties correct for the job classification, and especially if it's not being filled, why?
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is because the government typically is very good at identifying new needs and wanting
Sure.
and new wants and
Sure, absolutely.
and new positions, but I don't think we're very good at the back end of that, where we identify the ones we don't need anymore.
Okay.
If you could look into that, and I know this is it. If you could just look into that and see
Okay.
if there's any data you can provide
Okay.
that shows that we're really doing that. And I'm not trying to call anybody out. It's
Sure.
just it's a budget thing.
Understand.
That's our job.
Yes,
So if you got something, if you could present it, I'd appreciate it.
I understand. Thank you, sir. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, you somewhat answered my question
Okay.
because it's a tough job for you because some of the cabinets purposely have vacant or
Mm-hmm.
unfilled positions that they hold and they're not trying to fill,
Mm-hmm.
so that if something happens where, like Representative Johnson said,
Right.
where they're deleted positions,
Yes.
they have a spot to put somebody.
Yes.
So that is your task and always has been.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that last.
Have you made any inroads into that? Because you do have to go through and say, how come this that you've had it for, and they do that for budgetary reasons.
Right, and you're aware of that, yes.
Yes.
You've been there. Yes, obviously there, when a position is budgeted, you might not, you might need to keep it to use those funds in another way and for another position per se. But yes, to answer your question, have we, reviewed positions and
Yeah,
they
you don't have to answer anymore. I'm just
Yes.
thankful you're there trying to do that. because,
Absolutely, yes. We do. We have abolished a lot of positions, and the agencies they really are very good and very responsive and ensuring that, what they need is what is reflected.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Secretary, if people are coming into the system or moving within the system, are there any supplemental assessments and looking at evaluating and trying to achieve diversity, equity, and inclusion? Like, do people have provide a written statement or any other typical type of support of what the administration is trying to accomplish with when it comes to DEI?
I'm not sure I understand your question. I'm sorry.
Well, there are universities and there's other organizations out there that will go through looking at transferring people within the system, their company or organization, and they want to make sure they want to try to achieve some goals and so forth when it comes to understanding diversity, inclusion, and equity and so forth. Are there any type of processes or assessments to make sure people understand the goals and objectives of administration? And has that helped clarify?
A little bit,
Okay.
yes. Our diversity, equity, and diversity and equality and inclusion office has, ensured that they have provided our goals and met with each leader, each cabinet secretary, and the HR office as well. With the merit system, we have to ensure that regardless of anything, that we are hiring the best qualified candidate out there. But, we have various programs and initiatives that we're doing as far as employee resource groups and diversity councils within the cabinets to promote diversity.
It somewhat does, but I didn't know. Like I said, I know there's some universities. That's my background. process where a applicant or somebody transferring or somebody who's currently in the employee goes through and say, yes, here's what my objectives and goals and ambitions are in order to make sure we meet the goals, the DEI and so forth. That's what I was trying to get to. And it sounds like you might have that to a certain degree.
Provide you what we have. Sure, absolutely. Okay, thank you.
We've got a monumental task. We need the minutes. I know you have a monumental task ahead of you and so forth. So if you can get back.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us.
One more item we have, ladies and gentlemen of the committee, we need to approve the minutes. Is this June 7th and July 19th? All right, so we need to approve. Is there a motion to approve June
Second.
7th and June 19th? Motion on both of them. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Very good. They stand approved. Thank you.